Welcome back, everybody. This is your daily news report, your stimulus check update, your second stimulus check update. We're in a third stimulus check update. The EIDL Grants, EIDL, PPP 2.0, all the relief package. It's Monday, guys. It is the 18th of January, 2021. It's a great new year, and it is snowing on the East Coast. Guys, the portals with the SBA are open. Find out, guys, how you can capitalize on those grants, those $10,000 grants. Find out how you guys could capitalize on up to $29,000. This is your gig worker update. This is your sole proprietor update. This is everything. 1099, independent contractors, side hustles, Uber, Lyft drivers. Guys, come along, get your news. Welcome back, everybody. I am Edward Bilder. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video of Ask Builder. Oh, it's a great day on the East Coast, guys. To all my loyal subscribers out there, welcome back. You guys know who you are. And if you guys are new to the channel today, welcome. Consider becoming a subscriber. Yes, I did get a haircut. If any of you guys, my loyal subscribers out there are wondering, my barber did come over today and I got that haircut. All right, last night we had a live session, first live session ever on the channel, and we went over Q&A topics on the EIDL program and the PPP program and what the differences are. A lot of people overlap the differences between EIDL and PPP. So we're going to break it down for you very specifically in this video, the differences between the two of them. Because yesterday there was a lot of Q&A involved, and it was a bit of a longer video. It's probably about an hour 20 minutes long. And there was a lot of questions. A lot of Q&As. Guys, you guys could join me for live sessions. I'm going to post live sessions 9:30 East Coast, 6:30 West Coast. We're not going to do one every night, but we will post when we're going to have them, probably every other day or so, and provide you guys updates and Q&A sessions. Okay, on this video, we're going to talk about the differences of what the PPP is and what the EIDL is. We're going to talk about their definitions of loans, okay? Who could apply for these things and what kinds of interest are attached to them. All right, don't get afraid. Don't fear yet, because we're also going to talk about free money. All right, a lot of people are saying, what's free? What's the money that I get to keep here without having to pay back? We're going to talk those, air quotes, free money and the grants, right? We're going to talk the 10K grants, how you could be eligible for that 10K. You're going to get all your news right here. All right, but these videos apply to sole proprietors, gig workers, independent contractors, all those 1099s out there. This applies to people who work jobs. If you have a job right now, you're working for Apple, or you're working for some kind of, maybe you work in a restaurant, maybe you work at a coffee shop, maybe you work in an office, maybe you have a boss, you get a paycheck, and you side hustle. You guys are out side hustling. You guys are out working, driving Uber on the weekends, Instacart on the weekends. These videos apply to you guys. PPP applies to you. EIDL applies to you. Get your updates right here, okay? We solved so many problems during round 1 of CARES Act, so anybody out there who new to this channel, we have a full collection of everything that everybody experienced from the very first time PPP became about, EIDL became about. We solved so many problems right on this channel. Guys, you guys could find me on Instagram. PM me there anytime you want. Ask Builder is on Instagram. And guys, don't forget, I have a giveaway. When I hit 5,000 subscribers, I'm picking one lucky winner to give a $500 stimulus check to. All you got to do is qualify. Drop some comments down below. All my viewers right now are going out all over the place, dropping comments all over my videos. Because it increases your chances of winning. I'm going to pick one lucky comment, check that you're a subscriber, and send out a $500 stimulus check to you. When I hit 5,000 subscribers, it's going to be right around the corner here. I could feel it, guys. And with all this money flowing around, take that $500 I gave you and go take $100, deposit it today with Webull. In the description, they're giving away 4 free stocks. The promotion will not last forever. Valued up to $3,000. All right, let's get into those details. I don't want to waste another second. Okay, let's start by defining what a PPP is versus an EIDL. It's very important to know and understand what they are. So EIDL, that's nothing new. Okay, PPP is something new. Economic Injury Disaster Loan, Paycheck Protection Program Loan, and they were both brought to us in heavy force by the CARES Act, designed to pump money straight into the economy, right? Get money into the economy as fast as possible because everything was shutting down. And we live in a new gig worker nation, right? A lot of gig workers out there. and even gig workers stopped working, stopped making that extra side hustle money, and we needed to get money to them because gig workers make up a lot of the economy, right? Now they're both loans, all right. I'm going to talk about them being loans, but I'm also going to talk about there being, I'm going to air quotes and say there's some free money in there, right? Things that you don't have to pay back, even though they're loans. There's things in there that you don't have to pay back. Some of these PPPs are forgivable, and the EIDL has grant program, all right. And they're very different loan programs. They're not the same. A lot of people will talk and say in a comment, hey, I got $30,000 of PPP for my sole proprietor, and I'll say, no, you actually got, maybe you got 20,000 PPP. That was the max you could get. So you're still confusing EIDL versus PPP. A lot of people are confusing them. So they're very different loans, and they could be used for very different things in order to be forgiven, and in other cases not forgiven at all. So don't confuse them, because you don't want to get into a situation where you've taken a loan that you can't pay back. All right. Who could apply for these? Let's talk both PPP and EIDL. We're talking small business owners. We're talking gig workers, 1099s, independent contractors, side hustles, sole proprietors. It was spelled out inside the CARES Act. Very specifically spelled out small businesses, sole proprietors, independent contractors. It was also open to nonprofits. All right. Nonprofits was also included. Churches was also included. All right. But there are differences in eligibility. We're going to talk about those differences in eligibility. But if you recall, I just mentioned you could have a job and still apply for these loans, and still apply for these grants, and still apply for the PPP. All right, you could be working side jobs and a portion of your money has been removed from you, and you could still go out and apply for these things. You could also get your stimulus check, your lousy $600 stimulus check, and still apply to these programs, be eligible for these programs. So the question on these loans often comes up is, what's the interest? And I'll just be straightforward with the interest, because in every scenario, you may not have to pay that interest if you're not paying it back. But on the PPP, Paycheck Protection Program, it's 1% over 5 years if you took the full term of the loan. 2.5% and 3.5% on EIDL. 2.5% if you're nonprofit, and 3.5% if you're for profit. That's over 30 years. And that interest you're paying no matter what. Okay? Because when you ask the question, do I need to pay these back? The EIDL loan, most definitely you have to pay it back. There's no forgiveness on the EIDL loan. Now the grant is something different. That is an advance to get you money quickly. All right? And that is a grant, and you don't have to pay that back. It's not included in your loan. You don't have to pay it back. All right? And so you're in your EIDL, you're paying everything back except for the grant. So if you got the full, you're approved for $25,000 and you got $10,000 in a grant, that's part of your advance. All right? You'd receive the balance of $15,000, and you don't have to pay back that $10,000. You only pay back $15,000. All right, I hope that makes sense. With your PPP, maybe it's paid. Maybe you might have to pay it back. Do I have to pay back my PPP? Maybe. Why do I say maybe? Because you could apply for forgiveness, and if you meet certain criteria, the 60-40 rule, we'll talk about that in just a second, you could apply for forgiveness and not have to pay any of it back. So you could get up to that $20,000 or $29,000 or $2 million. It goes all the way up to $10 million, depending on how big your business is and how many employees you have, and not have to pay any of it back. Pretty crazy, right? And there's also new criteria. The previous CARES Act didn't really define too well about receiving a grant and then having to have that included in your forgiveness. Prior CARES Act, when you applied for forgiveness with PPP, let's say you took $10,000 PPP money and you got a $1,000 grant, and when you went to apply for forgiveness, they would say, you're forgiven for $9,000, you still owe us $1,000. You have to pay that back because that was part of a grant. That is no longer the case. The grant is now forgiven. So anybody out there who applied for forgiveness and had that $1,000 removed, reach out to the SBA. You can get that amended and have that also forgiven as well. All right? Okay, we just talked about if we're going to have to pay these back. All right? I want to start with PPP. I just want to talk about PPP just for a moment. Okay, because PPP is forgivable. You have to qualify. You have to apply for forgiveness. It's not just forgiven. Okay, you have to go through a process of applying for forgiveness, which they've made it easier within the new relief package. They made it much easier. They've turned it down to a one-pager for certain scenarios. But if you don't apply for forgiveness, you have to pay this back over 5 years because it's a loan, right? But if you qualify and you use the expenses, forgivable expenses now, all right? If you use the 60-40 rule, 60% of it has to be spent on your payroll. That's paying yourself or your employees. And 40% of it could be spent on eligible expenses like payroll, rent, covered mortgage interest, and utilities. That was in the original CARES Act. Then they expanded it, all right, because we found out a lot more during a pandemic of what we're spending our money on, all right? And so a lot of facilities had to go through modifications, putting up plastic everywhere, putting up, plexiglass at the counters when you approach the counters, buying PPP for all PPE, personal protective equipment for all of their employees. So they've expanded it to include new things that we found out during pandemic. So protection and facility modification is now covered. PPE is now covered. Property damage, if you were affected by looting, is now covered. Any type of vandalism from looting is now covered. Expenditures that are supplier essential, extra cleaning equipment, right? That is now included. All that hand sanitizer that you had to buy, all that extra stuff, is now included. Covered operating expenditures like for software. If you had to go into a virtual world, it is now included, right? You were once in an office environment, and then you had to turn on all this new software and pay all these new fees, all these new license agreements. That's included, all right? So you could put that in the 40%. And to be eligible, I just said 60-40 rule, 60% to your paycheck, 40%, and it has to be used over an 8 or 24-week period. Now everybody wants to talk about that EIDL grant, right? And I don't blame you, because we're all wanting to know what happened to my $10,000. I only got $1,000. What happened to my 10? I was supposed to get 10. So remember, to be eligible, you could be a gig worker, you could be a side hustle. You don't need a corporation, you don't need an LLC. You could work a job, you can get a paycheck, and on your way home you drive Uber, or you do Instacart on the weekend, or you sell t-shirts from your house, but you have a job every day. Maybe your business isn't fully up and operational to where you don't need that job. You could still apply for the grant, okay? Now you have to apply for the grant by applying for the loan, EIDL loan. And you don't have to accept the loan to get the grant. You don't have to even be approved for the loan to accept the grant. It's an advance, all right? And you can qualify from anywhere between $1,000 up to $10,000 on top of your stimulus check, extra money, all right? The grant's not part of the loan. You don't pay it back. We're going to air quotes and say this is your free money section, okay? You don't have to file for forgiveness with this, okay? Just attesting that you had that side hustle is all you need to do. And you can get it on top of that $600 stimulus check. Terrible $600 stimulus check. All right, let's talk about eligibility for the grant. And more specifically, how do I get my 10K? Right? Everybody still wants to know how they get their $10,000. Well, not everybody's going to get the $10,000. All right, now the new relief package set aside $25 billion in funds to provide the grant, the advance, on the EIDL loan. It's forgivable. You don't pay this back. You don't have to apply for forgiveness. It's automatic. And it says you could take up to $10,000. So there's two ways. I'm going to talk about two ways of how you qualify for the full $10,000. They're both different. So if the first possibility isn't you, maybe the second possibility is you. The first way To get the $10,000, all of it, you have to have three things: be in a low-income neighborhood, suffered a 30% reduction over an 8-week period, and have fewer than 300 employees. So what is a low-income area? It is if the poverty rate for such tract is at least 20%, or if the county does not exceed 80% of a statewide median family income. Now let's talk about the second option. In CARES Act days, the SBA provided guidelines where they took the CARES Act and they said the law states you could get up to $10,000. I know so many people are frustrated about this because they want the full 10. So up to $10,000 to the SBA meant $1,000 per employee. Now, if you are a sole proprietor and you said, I don't have any employees, you put 0, 0 equaled 1 and you got $1,000. 1 equaled 1 and you got $1,000. 3 equaled 3. 3 employees, you got $3,000. All the way up to 10 employees for $10,000. We're not seeing anything where this is changing. So if you're not in the low income area or suffer the 30% reduction over 8 weeks, fewer than 300 employees, it's going to be $1,000 per employee. There hasn't been anything that said otherwise. All right. I know it outraged thousands and thousands of people. And I apologize for anybody who's frustrated over that message, but that's just the way it's outlined right now. Can I get more of either loan? Is a question that's often asked between EIDL and PPP. So let's talk about PPP first. Can you get more PPP funding if you received first round PPP draw 1? The answer is yes. We're into a draw 2 right now. So the new relief package opened up more funds, $25 billion to be exact, for anybody 10 and under looking for loans $250,000 or less. They reserved $25 billion just for that. All right. That goes all the way down to the number 1. That's for your sole proprietor, your gig workers, your side hustle guys, right? Takes it all the way down to number 1. So yes, you could get that second draw, right? You have to prove that you had a 25% reduction, and you have to have used your draw 1 funds on or before the day of which you receive your draw 2. So you have to have used all of your funds, and you had to use it according to the 60-40 rule, which if you're under $150,000 and you haven't changed the information on your request, you can self-attest that that's what you've done with your funds and get draw number 2. So can you get draw number 1 and then draw number 2 like all at once, right? If you missed draw 1 from the original CARES Act and now the program reopened for the new PPP, can I go out right now and get draw 1 and then boom, like 2 weeks later try and get draw number 2? The answer there is no. If you missed draw number 1, you do not get a draw number 2. You're ineligible for a second draw. All right, let's talk about EIDL. Can you get more or a second draw? It's a little bit dicey to talk about that. So you could ask for increases inside of your portal today. You could go out to your portal now. You don't have to wait for the new EIDL portal to open up. You could go check and see if you could get increases. And if you didn't take all of your loan amount, you could always increase that. Right? So let's say you were approved for 80, you took 40, you get an increase on that. Okay. Let's say you were approved for 30 and you took 30. Well, now it's a little bit more challenging to get an increase on that because you have to substantiate something new that said you really qualified for 60, right? How about the grant? If you got the grant already, can you get another grant? The answer is no. It's one and done. When you received your first grant, if you got $1,000 and that was all you were eligible for, then you got the $1,000. You can't get an additional. But what about if you were actually in a low income area and you qualified for $10,000 but you only got $1,000? So the answer now is yes. You can get the balance of that $9,000, and we are waiting for the SBA to tell us how we can do that. Is it reapply? We're going to find out right here on this channel. Do we have to go through reapplication process, or is it going to automatically happen? Are they going to recognize our zip code falls in the low income area and automatically send us the balance of that $9,000? That's to be determined, right? Because we know there's three things: 30% reduction, low income area, and less than 300 employees. So that's to be determined. We'll find that out soon. You'll get your answer right here. Thank you to everybody who joined me today. You guys are an amazing crowd, amazing audience, best viewers ever. Thank you to everybody who commented, shared the video with your fellow gig workers, and dropped us a like. You guys really are helping the YouTube algorithm move this message to many, many, many struggling Americans who need to hear about the PPP 2.0 and the EIDL grants, the relief package, all the news, all the updates on stimulus checks 1, 2, and 3. This is the channel right here that's going to pay you guys your own stimulus check. When I hit 5,000 subscribers, drop comments everywhere. Drop them all over the place, because I'm going to pick one lucky comment, check your subscriber, and I'm going to send a $500 stimulus check to that winner. All right. So I wish everybody the best of luck. I thank you all again for joining me, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye for now.